Hey guys, tonight we're going north to Maine in the dead of winter, 1925. You're going to experience a day, a single, ordinary day, in the life of an ice harvester working on Sebago Lake. His name is Walter Hutchins, and this is the work that kept America's food fresh before electric refrigerators became common. So before we begin, take a moment to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of immersive history. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is, and especially if you've got connections to the ice industry or remember the old ice boxes your grandparents had. Those of you who worked in hard manual labor during the Depression years, or remember when ice trucks delivered to your neighborhood, I'd love to hear how this compares to your experience. Now settle in, get comfortable, and let's step back in time together. Close your eyes if you want. You're about to live a day that someone actually lived nearly 100 years ago. My name is Walter Hutchins, though most folks call me Walt. I'm 42 years old, and I've been cutting ice on Sebago Lake for 18 winters now. It's 4:30 in the morning, and the cold has already found every crack in this house. I can see my breath hanging in the air above the bed. I don't need an alarm clock. My body knows when it's time. Martha is still asleep beside me, buried under 3 quilts and a wool blanket we got from her mother. I can hear her breathing, slow and steady. The children are in the next room, probably huddled together for warmth like they do on the coldest nights. I swing my legs out from under the covers and the cold hits me like a physical thing. We don't heat the bedrooms, can't afford the wood. The kitchen stove stays banked overnight, and that's it. I'm wearing my union suit, the heavy wool one-piece underwear that's supposed to keep you warm. It helps. Somewhat. The floor is like ice itself. I find my pants draped over the foot of the bed where I left them, still holding a bit of warmth from yesterday's wear. I pull them on quick, then my flannel shirt, then my wool sweater with the holes in the elbows that Martha keeps meaning to patch. Then my work jacket, heavy canvas lined with wool. It's not enough for the lake, but it'll do for now. Downstairs, the kitchen is marginally warmer. I stir the coals in the stove and add kindling, then a couple of split logs. The fire catches and starts pushing back against the cold. I fill the kettle from the pump and set it on the stovetop. While it heats, I sit at the table and pull on my boots. These boots have been with me for 6 years. I've resoled them twice, replaced the laces 4 times, and patched the uppers more times than I can count. Good boots cost real money, and once you find a pair that works, you keep them alive as long as possible. My feet are already cold inside them, but that's normal. They'll stay cold all day. I wrap my legs with wool strips, the way we all do. It's not fancy. Just old wool cloth wound around my calves and secured with twine. It keeps the wind from cutting straight through your pants. On really cold days, and today's going to be one, this makes the difference between working and losing your feet. Breakfast is oatmeal, bread with butter, and coffee strong enough to strip paint. Martha prepared the oatmeal last night, and it's been sitting on the back of the stove staying warm. I eat standing up, looking out the window at the darkness. There's no moon tonight. That'll make the walk to the lake harder, but once we get the work lights set up, it won't matter. The coffee is hot and bitter and perfect. I drink 2 cups while I finish the oatmeal. I'll need the heat inside me before I step out into what's waiting. According to the thermometer outside the kitchen window, it's 5 degrees below zero. That's Fahrenheit, and that's not counting the wind. Lake wind in January will cut through you like you're not even there. I put on my outer coat. Now, heavy canvas stock cloth lined with wool that's gotten thin over the years. It's patched at both elbows and across the back where it wore through. Over that, a wool scarf that Martha knitted me 3 Christmases ago. Then my wool cap pulled down over my ears. Then the mittens over the fingerless gloves. I packed my bag, 2 sandwiches Martha made last night, salt pork and bread, a thermos of coffee, extra socks in case my feet get wet, a small tin of grease for my hands, though it never seems to help much. The bag goes over my shoulder. I take one more look at the kitchen. The warm glow of the lamp, the red embers visible through the stove grate, the steam rising from the kettle. Then I open the door and step out into the dark. The cold hits me like a wall. 5 below zero doesn't sound that bad until you're standing in it. The wind comes across the fields and finds every gap in my clothing. My nose hairs freeze instantly. My lungs protest the cold air. This is what January in Maine feels like. This is what I do. I start walking. The snow is deep, maybe 8 or 9 inches of fresh powder on top of the older packed snow. Walking is work. Each step breaks through the crust and sinks. I follow the path I'd been taking all week, my own footprints from yesterday still visible as depressions in the snow. The path to the lake is about 1.5 miles from our farm. In summer, I can walk it in 20 minutes. In winter, in the dark, through snow, it takes 45. The work starts before you even get to the lake. I'm already breathing hard, and I can feel sweat starting to form under all these layers. That's dangerous. Sweat in winter cold can kill you. I can see my breath hanging in the air, each exhale a white cloud. I try to breathe through my nose to warm the air before it hits my lungs, but that only works for so long. Eventually, I'm gasping through my mouth, and each breath burns going down. You get used to it, sort of. The lake comes into view through the trees. Sebago Lake. Frozen solid. I can already see lanterns out on the ice. The foreman and the early crew setting up. The lake looks peaceful from here, beautiful even. All that white snow covering the ice. But I know what's waiting for me out there. Cold like you can't imagine. Wind with nothing to stop it. Work that will test every muscle I have. I make my way down to the shore and out onto the ice. The lake ice is at least 12 inches thick this time of year. Thick enough to hold men, horses, equipment, and tons of cut ice. But stepping onto it still feels wrong somehow. Even after 18 years, your brain knows there's water underneath, deep water, and it doesn't like it. There are already 8 men here when I arrive. Charlie Morse, the foreman, is checking the ice thickness with his auger. Tom Bennett and his brother Frank are shoveling snow off the marked cutting area. The Larson boys, P. and Eric, are setting up the big crosscut saw. Old Henry Jackman is tending the fire barrel, getting it hot for when we need to thaw our hands. And there's young Billy Thatcher, just 17, in his first season. He looks miserable already, and we haven't even started. Charlie waves me over. He's a big man, 50 years old, been running ice crews longer than I'd been working them. His face is weathered like old leather, and he's missing 2 fingers on his left hand from a saw accident years back. Those missing fingers are a reminder to all of us. This work can hurt you if you're not careful. It can kill you if you're unlucky. "Walt," he says, his voice rough from years of shouting orders in the wind, "you're on the plow horse today. Ice is running clear and hard. Should be a good day for cutting if the wind doesn't pick up too much." I nod. The plow horse is what we call the ice plow rig, a heavy blade pulled by a horse that scores the initial lines in the ice. It's cold work, guiding that plow, but it's better than being in the water with the saw. I drop my bag by the fire barrel and head over to where Jake, our draft horse, is standing with his owner, Albert Morrison. Jake is a big Belgian, over 1,000 pounds, with feet like dinner plates and a disposition calm enough for ice work. Not every horse will walk out onto a frozen lake. Jake doesn't seem to mind, though I sometimes wonder what he thinks about the whole thing. "Morning, Walt," Albert says. He's wrapped in so many layers, he looks twice his normal size. "Jake's ready when you are. Ice is good today." "Heard from Charlie. It's running 14 inches. 14 inches is excellent. Thick enough to feel safe, clear enough to cut clean. We like the ice between 12 and 16 inches. Thinner than that and it's dangerous. Thicker and it's too much work to saw through." I help Albert hitch Jake to the plow. The leather is stiff with cold and the buckles fight my fingers, but we get it done. I check the plow blade. It's sharp, set to cut about 4 inches deep into the ice. That's the first cut. Later, the saw crews will cut all the way through and we'll be floating blocks of ice in a grid of dark water. I take up position behind the plow, hands on the wooden handles. Charlie calls out, 20 2-inch blocks today. Standard grid. That means the lines will be cut 22 inches apart in both directions, making blocks that are 22 inches square. Those blocks will weigh about 60 pounds each. We'll cut hundreds of them today. Thousands over the course of the harvest season. "Let's go, Jake," I say, and the big horse leans into the harness. The plow bites into the ice with a grinding sound that sets your teeth on edge. We move forward slowly, the blade cutting a clean, straight line through the surface. My job is to keep the plow steady, following the marked guideline, making sure the blade stays at the right depth. It's harder than it sounds. The ice isn't perfectly flat, and the blade wants to wander. We make the first pass. 22 inches later, we turn and make another pass parallel to the first. Then another. My arms are already feeling it, keeping steady pressure on those handles, fighting the tendency of the plow to drift. The cold is seeping through my mittens into my hands. The wind is picking up, coming straight across the lake with nothing to slow it down. After an hour, we've got 20 lines cut running north to south. My hands are numb, my face feels like leather, and I'm already tired. But we're just getting started. Charlie calls a break while the saw crews set up. I walk over to the fire barrel to thaw my hands. The heat from the fire barrel feels like heaven for about 30 seconds, and then it starts to hurt. Your hands are so cold that warming them is painful. The blood coming back into your fingers feels like needles, but you need the warmth. You can't grip tools if your hands are completely numb. It's a balance, cold enough that you can work, warm enough that you don't lose fingers to frostbite. Cold enough for you, Walt? Tom Bennett asks, holding his hands over the flames. His nose is already going white at the tip. First stage of frostbite. Better rub that nose, Tom, I tell him. He does, wincing at the pain. Goddamn lake wind, he mutters. Makes the Korean winter look pleasant. Tom served in the army, stationed in Korea for 2 years. When he says the lake is colder than Korea, I believe him. Billy Thatcher, the young kid, is practically climbing into the fire barrel. His face is bone white and he's shivering uncontrollably. Charlie notices. Billy, you all right? The kid nods, but he's clearly not. First season is always the hardest, Charlie says. Not unkindly. Your body adjusts. Somewhat. Billy doesn't look convinced. I don't blame him. I remember my first season. I thought I was going to die about 6 times a day. Break's over. Charlie calls us back. Saw Cruz, let's open her up. Walt, you and Pete get the first blocks separated. Frank, Tom, you're on the channel crew. We move to our positions. The saw crews, 4 men to a saw position, their long cross-cut ice saws on the scored lines. These saws are massive, at least 6 feet long, with big triangular teeth, designed for cutting ice. 2 men on each end, pulling back and forth. In rhythm. I watch Pete Larson and his brother Eric start their saw. They're good at this, been doing it since they were teenagers. The saw bites into the scored line and starts cutting deeper. The sound it makes is distinct, a grinding, rasping, almost musical sound. As the blade goes deeper, you start to see dark water at the bottom of the cut. That's when your heart rate picks up a little. That's when you remember there's 40 feet of water under this ice. The saw breaks through. Water wells up in the cut, dark and cold looking. Pete and Eric don't slow down. They keep sawing, moving along the line. Behind them, the cut stays open, a thin black line across the white ice. That line will get wider as we separate the blocks, but right now it's maybe an inch across, just enough to see the water. My job now is to use a pike pole to separate the cut blocks and start floating them down the channel toward the ice house. The pike pole is just a long wooden pole with a metal hook on the end, but it's the essential tool for moving ice. You hook the block, pull it away from its neighbors, and guide it where it needs to go. I hook my first block and pull. It resists for a moment, still frozen to its neighbors, then breaks free and tilts up slightly, floating. A 22-inch block of clear ice weighing about 60 pounds, floating in water so cold it would kill you in 5 minutes. I guide it toward the channel, where other workers will move it toward the shore. This is the dangerous part. You're working right at the edge of the water, reaching out over it, sometimes standing on ice that's already cut and floating. The ice is slippery. The water is fatal. We lose men most years. Someone slips, goes in, and the cold takes them before we can get them out. Even if you get them out quick, hypothermia sets in fast. You've got maybe 5 minutes before you stop being able to help yourself. The operation has its own rhythm now. Saws cutting, blocks separating, pike poles moving ice, horses pulling sleds. Everyone knows their job. Everyone watches everyone else, because safety out here depends on paying attention. I see Billy Thatcher working with a pike pole, looking terrified but doing the work. Good. He'll either make it through the season or he won't. Most do. Some don't. I move to help with loading. Ice tongs, another specialized tool, grip the blocks and we lift them onto the sleds. 60 pounds doesn't sound like much until you're lifting it dozens of times in brutal cold while standing on ice. My back is already protesting. My arms feel like lead. But we keep going. You don't stop in ice harvesting unless you're injured or dying. The work demands to be done. The sleds run constantly from the cutting area to the ice house on shore. Albert Morrison drives Jake back and forth, back and forth. Each load is maybe 8 to 10 blocks, 500 pounds or more. Jake doesn't complain. He leans into the harness and pulls, his breath making huge clouds in the cold air. I'm glad I'm not a horse. By 10 o'clock in the morning, we've cut and moved maybe 200 blocks. That's about 6 tons of ice. We'll need to move 10 times that much before the day is done. Maybe more. The price for ice is good this year, $4 a ton, so Charlie is pushing for volume. $4 a ton sounds good until you remember how much work goes into a ton of ice. Then it sounds criminal. The ice house is a marvel of simple engineering. It's just a big wooden building, but it's designed to keep ice frozen all through summer. The ice gets stacked with sawdust, packed between each layer and around the walls. The sawdust insulates better than you'd think. Ice packed in January can last until September if you do it right. That's 9 months in Maine summer heat. It shouldn't work, but it does. Inside the ice house, another crew is stacking the blocks. This requires precision. Blocks have to be aligned perfectly, sawdust packed evenly, no air gaps. Frank Bennett is the stacker foreman. He's been doing this for 30 years, and he can look at a stack and tell you if it'll make it through summer or not. The ice house will hold maybe 5,000 tons when it's full. That's a lot of blocks. A lot of cold. A lot of money for the company and a few dollars for each of us. Charlie calls another break at 10:30. This time everyone gathers at the fire barrel. Thermoses come out. Sandwiches emerge from bags. I eat my salt pork sandwich standing up, trying to chew bread that's frozen nearly solid. The coffee from my thermos is still warm, and it's the best thing I've tasted all day. How many tons you figure we'll get today, Charlie? Tom asks. Charlie looks out at the cutting field, calculating in his head. If the weather holds, maybe 20, 25 tons? Good day. 20 tons is 400 blocks. 25 tons is 500 blocks. Each one cut, moved, loaded, transported, stacked. My back aches just thinking about it. The food doesn't last long. You need calories for this work, and you need them fast. I finished both sandwiches and I'm still hungry. But that's all I brought, so that's all I get. Tonight, Martha will make a big dinner. Potatoes, salt pork if we have it, maybe some beans. Something to rebuild what today is taking out of me. But that's hours away. For now, I have cold coffee and the memory of bread. During the break, I take a moment to really look at the ice we're cutting. When you're in the rhythm of work, You don't really see it, but when you stop and look, it's remarkable. This ice is almost perfectly clear with just a faint blue tint. That's what you want. Clear ice is dense ice. Dense ice melts slower. Slow melting ice is valuable ice. Charlie is particular about ice quality. He's explained it to us more than once. Ice from Sebago is some of the best in New England, he says during the break, warming his hands over the fire barrel. Clean water, cold enough to freeze slow, deep enough to stay clear. Some places they're cutting white ice full of air bubbles. That stuff melts fast. Our ice, it'll last. Why is clear ice better? Billy Thatcher asks. He's still shaken from his near fall, but trying to learn. Charlie nods, appreciating the question. Air bubbles mean weak spots. Weak spots mean the ice cracks and melts faster. Clear ice is dense, strong, cold. It's what the rich folks want in their ice boxes. It's what keeps restaurants and hotels buying from us instead of building their own ice houses. This makes me think about the economics of what we're doing. The company, Northern Ice Company, charges $4 per ton for the ice we cut. Out of that $4, they pay us maybe 50 cents in total labor. Another 50 cents goes to maintenance, equipment, horses. That leaves them $3 profit per ton. If we cut 25 tons today, that's $75 profit for the company. We'll take home maybe $12 or $13 total, divided among 15 men. Tom Bennett sees me thinking. Doing the math, Walt? He asks. I nod. Always comes out the same way, doesn't it? I say. Company makes the real money. We make enough to survive. Tom spits into the fire barrel. Been that way since the first ice was cut. We'll never be the owners, Walt. Best we can hope for is steady work and enough to feed our families. He's right, of course. The ice industry has been operating this way for decades. Before refrigeration, ice was essential. Every city needed ice. Every restaurant, every hotel, every hospital. The companies that controlled ice supplies controlled serious money. The men who cut that ice, we're just labor. Replaceable, dispensable. There's always another man desperate enough to stand on frozen lakes in 5 below zero weather for $1.50 a day. But I try not to think about it too much. Resentment doesn't make the work easier or the pay better. It just makes you angry, and anger doesn't keep you warm. So, I finish my coffee, I wrap my scarf tighter, and I prepare to go back to work. Because that's what you do. You do the job. You take the pay. You survive to work another day. Pete Larson is sharpening his saw during the break. Blade's getting dull, he says to no one in particular. Ice this thick, you need sharp teeth or you'll be sawing until spring. He runs the file across each tooth with practiced strokes. Pete's been doing this since he was 14. He's 32 now. 18 years of ice cutting. His hands are permanently scarred from the work. His back is bent more than it should be for his age, and he coughs a lot. Probably from breathing cold air for so many winters. You ever think about doing something else, Pete? Billy asks. Pete looks at him like he's asked a ridiculous question. Like what? Farming? I do that in summer, and it pays even worse. Factory work? There ain't no factories out here. This is the work there is, kid. You do it or you starve. Those are the options. The break ends. Charlie calls us back. We move to our positions like soldiers returning to battle. Because that's what it is, really, a battle. Not against an enemy, but against nature, against cold, against water, against our own body's limitations. A battle we fight every day for modest pay. A battle that ultimately we'll all lose. Our bodies will wear out. The cold will take its toll. We'll end up like Henry Jackman, old and bent and barely able to work, but still out here because there's no pension, no retirement, no safety net. You work until you can't work anymore, and then you hope your children can support you. But I can't think about that now. I can only think about the next block of ice. The next pull of the pike pole, the next hour, the next task, the next moment. That's how you survive this work. You don't think about tomorrow or next year or 10 years from now. You think about right now. Right now, I'm cold but functioning. Right now, I can do the work. Right now, I'm earning my $1.50. That has to be enough. All right, back to it, Charlie says, and the break ends. We return to our positions. The wind is stronger now, coming straight across the lake. It's the kind of wind that finds every gap in your clothing and reminds you that you're warm-blooded and mortal. The temperature hasn't risen at all, despite the sun. If anything, it feels colder. I'm back on pike pole duty, separating blocks and guiding them into the channel. Pete and Eric are still on the saw, cutting through ice like it's their life's purpose. The saw makes its endless grinding sound. Water wells up, blocks separate. I hook them and move them. Again, and again, and again. This is ice harvesting. Repetitive, brutal, cold, necessary work. I plant my feet carefully. The ice at the edge of the cut is slippery from water splashing up. One wrong step and I'm in. I've seen it happen. 2 years ago, Henry Miller went in. We got him out in less than a minute, but he still ended up losing 3 toes to frostbite. The cold doesn't give second chances. The blocks move one by one down the channel toward shore. It's like a slow-motion assembly line, except everything weighs 60 pounds and is surrounded by water that can kill you. I'm in a rhythm now, moving without thinking much. Hook a block, pull it free, guide it to the channel, push it forward. Hook another. Pull, guide, push. My arms know the motion. My back knows the strain. My hands are beyond feeling. Around noon, Billy Thatcher makes a mistake. He's working with a pike pole, trying to separate a stubborn block, and he leans too far forward. I see it happening. His right foot slips on the wet ice. He's going in, but Tom Bennett is right there, and he grabs Billy's coat and yanks him back. Billy stumbles backward onto solid ice, landing hard on his rear end. His face is white with shock. "Watch your goddamn feet, Billy," Tom shouts, not angry, but scared. We're all scared. That was close. Charlie walks over. "Billy, you're done with pike poles today. Go help Albert with the horse." "It's not a punishment. It's Charlie keeping the kid alive." Billy nods, still shaking, and moves away from the water. I catch Tom's eye and nod. He nods back. We don't talk about it. We don't need to. By 1 o'clock, the pattern of cut blocks covers maybe half an acre. It looks almost beautiful from a distance. A geometric design of white rectangles separated by black water lines. Up close, it's just cold and dangerous and exhausting. But from shore, it probably looks almost artistic. I think about that sometimes, how what we're doing could look beautiful to someone who doesn't have to do it. The work continues. Saw, cut, separate, move, load, transport, stack. The cycle repeats endlessly. Time moves differently when you're doing repetitive physical labor in brutal cold. An hour can feel like 10 minutes or 10 hours, depending on how much you're paying attention. I try not to pay too much attention. I try to let my body do the work while my mind goes somewhere else. Sometimes it works. My hands are getting worse. I can see the fingertips going white, early frostbite. I flex them, trying to keep blood moving, but they barely respond. I'll need to warm them soon or risk real damage, but there's still hours of work left. This is the calculation you make constantly. Push through and risk injury, or stop and lose pay. Most of us push through. We can't afford not to. I take a moment to watch the stacking crew in the ice house. Frank Bennett is directing, checking each layer with a level. Left side needs another inch of sawdust, he calls out. A worker scoops more sawdust and packs it carefully. The precision is remarkable. These men are building what amounts to a giant insulated box that will keep ice frozen for 9 months. There's no refrigeration technology involved, just good wood construction, tons of sawdust, and careful stacking. Why does it have to be so exact? Billy Thatcher asks. He's been moved to stacking duty after his near fall. Frank doesn't look up from his level. Because if it's off by even a little, the whole stack will shift and settle unevenly. That creates air gaps. Air gaps mean the sawdust doesn't insulate properly. Then the ice melts in summer and we've wasted half a winter's work. Precision now saves the whole operation later. I think about the chain of events that will follow from today's work. We cut the ice. It gets stacked here. In April or May, when the ice is solid and the stack's complete, the company will start selling it. Ice wagons will come, load up blocks, and deliver them all over New England. To restaurants where it will keep food fresh. To hospitals where it will reduce fevers. To wealthy homes where it will cool drinks and preserve meat. To fish markets where it will keep the catch from spoiling. To creameries where we'll keep milk from turning. All that comes from this, from us, standing on a frozen lake in 5 below zero weather, doing brutal work for modest pay. We're links in a chain, not important links, replaceable links, but essential ones. Without us, there's no ice. Without ice, modern life stops working. But nobody thinks about the ice cutters when they're putting a cold block in their ice box. They think about the ice, maybe about the delivery man, never about the men who stood in brutal cold to cut it. Albert Morrison is checking Jake's hooves again. The big horse has been pulling loads all day, and Albert wants to make sure he's not injured. I watch him lift each massive hoof, checking for ice buildup, looking for any sign of lameness. Albert treats Jake better than most men treat their wives. The horse gets breaks when he's tired, gets extra oats at lunch, gets checked over constantly. Albert knows that a lame horse means no work, and no work means no pay. The horse is essential. The men are expendable. "How's Jake holding up?" I ask Albert. "Better than most of us," he says, carefully picking ice from the hoof. "He'll work another 10 years if I take care of him. You and me? We'll be worn out long before that." It's true. A well-maintained draft horse in his prime can work for years with no significant decline. Human bodies don't fare as well doing this kind of labor. By 40, most ice cutters have permanent back problems. By 50, they're barely able to work. By 60, if they've lived that long, they're broken. Jake will probably outlive half the men working here today. I notice I'm not the only one slowing down. Henry Jackman is rubbing his lower back constantly. Tom Bennett is favoring his right leg, probably an old injury acting up in the cold. Even Pete Larson, usually unstoppable, is moving more slowly. The work is taking its toll. We started strong at 6 this morning. It's now past noon, 6 hours of constant heavy labor and brutal cold. And we've still got hours to go. Charlie is watching us. A good foreman can read his crew, can tell when men are approaching their limit. He makes a decision. "Tom, Henry, you're off pike poles. Go help with loading. Walt, take a spell helping Albert with the horse." It's not mercy, exactly. It's practical management. Pike pole work requires balance and attention. Tired men make mistakes. Better to move us to tasks where a mistake won't mean someone drowning in freezing water. I move to help Albert with Jake, and my back immediately thanks me. Loading the sled is still hard work, but it's different work. Different muscles, different motions. Sometimes that's all you need, a change in what hurts. I help guide the sled as Jake pulls, help position it for loading, help secure the blocks so they don't shift in transit. My hands still hurt. My feet are still numb. But my back gets a small respite. "You married, Walt?" Albert asks as we work. 18 years. I tell him. "You?" 23, he says. 4 children, all grown now. Oldest boy is working in Portland. Factory job. Making better money than I ever did. There's pride in his voice and maybe a little sadness. Pride that his son escaped this life. Sadness that his own life has been this. "Your children going to do this work?" Albert asks. I think about Sarah and James and little Emma. "God, I hope not," I say. "I'm saving what I can so James can maybe finish high school, maybe learn a trade. Something that doesn't break your back." Albert nods. "That's what we all hope, that the next generation does better. But hoping don't make it happen. Most likely, your James will end up out here same as us. Unless something changes." He's probably right. The economy doesn't care about our hopes for our children. There are more workers than jobs. If you don't take the brutal work, someone else will. Your children will face the same choices. Take what's offered or starve. Work until your body breaks or watch your family go hungry. These aren't real choices. They're just different forms of survival. The afternoon wears on, the sun gets lower, the light takes on that golden quality that photographers love and workers know means the day is almost done. We're all moving slower now. Even Jake seems tired, his huge head hanging a bit lower than this morning. The pile of cut ice is impressive. Hundreds of blocks floating in dark water channels, creating a geometric maze across the lake's surface. The ice house is filling up, stack by stack. The work is getting done, but the cost is stamped on every man's face. Billy Thatcher approaches me at the sled. "Mr. Hutchins?" he asks, formal despite us working alongside each other all day. "You can call me Walt," I tell him. "Walt? Does it get easier? The work, I mean. The cold?" I consider lying to him, telling him it gets easier with time. But he deserves the truth. "Your body gets used to some of it," I say. "You learn to manage the cold better, but easier? No. It never gets easier. You just get better at enduring it." He nods slowly, processing this. I thought maybe after a few seasons, it wouldn't be so hard. It's hard every time. I tell him, every morning is hard, every day is hard. You just decide whether the pay is worth the hardness. Some men decide it is. Some decide it isn't and try to find something else. There's no wrong answer. He nods again and moves away, thinking, I hope he finds something else. He's young enough to learn a different trade, old enough to understand what his life will be if he doesn't. Those of you who remember hard physical labor, who worked in mines or factories or farms or construction, you know this feeling. The end of a brutal day when your body is running on fumes and stubbornness, when every motion hurts but you keep moving because stopping means giving up, when you're not working toward anything except the end of the workday. That's where we are now. 3 o'clock. Maybe another hour and a half of work. An eternity. A blink, both at once. I move to help with loading again. The tongs bite into the ice, and we lift together. 60 pounds between two men isn't bad, but when you've done it 50 times already, and you'll do it 100 more times before the day ends, it adds up. My shoulders burn. My lower back has that deep ache that says it's going to hurt worse tomorrow. But I lift. We all lift. Jake makes another trip to the ice house and back. And another. That horse works harder than any of us, pulling half a ton with each load. Albert treats him well. Gives him breaks, walks him when he can, makes sure he doesn't overheat despite the cold. A good horse is worth more than a good worker out here. Horses are expensive. Men are cheap. The afternoon wears on. 2 o'clock. 3 o'clock? The sun is starting its long slide toward the horizon. In January in Maine, sunset comes early, around 4:30. We'll work until we lose the light, or Charlie calls it, whichever comes first. Usually Charlie calls it. He knows when men are approaching the point where they'll make mistakes. My hands have passed through cold and pain and have arrived at numbness. That's good and bad. Good because they don't hurt anymore. Bad because I can barely feel the pike pole I'm holding. I have to look at my hands to make sure I'm gripping properly. This is when accidents happen. This is when you have to pay extra attention because your body is trying to shut down. think about Martha and the children, about the warm kitchen, about sitting down, about not being cold. These thoughts keep me going. We don't do this work because we love it. We do it because it pays better than farm work in winter, which is to say, it pays at all. A farmer in Maine in January has no income. An ice harvester has a job. It's simple economics wrapped in frozen suffering. 3:30. The sun is definitely heading down now. The light turning that particular golden color you only get in winter. It's beautiful and I hate it. Beautiful because the light is genuinely lovely. Hate it because it means the day is almost over and my body is wrecked and I have to walk home still. Charlie is walking the cutting field, checking the work, watching the men. He stops beside me. Walt, we're at about 22 tons. That's good. Another hour and we'll call it an hour. 60 more minutes. I can do that. I've done it every day for 18 years. I can do it today. But then the wind picks up. It comes screaming across the lake from the northeast, and the temperature seems to drop 10 degrees in as many seconds. Everyone feels it. Men stop working for a moment, turning their backs to the wind, pulling their coats tighter. This is serious wind, the kind that can turn dangerous work into deadly work. "All right, that's it," Charlie shouts over the wind. "We're done. Secure the equipment and get off the ice." No one argues. When the wind comes up like this, you don't question the call to quit. You just quit. We start securing everything, covering the saw blades, stacking the pike poles, making sure nothing will blow away overnight. I help tie down the saws and pile the pike poles in the shed. Jake is already being unhitched from his sled. The fire barrel will burn itself out overnight. Everything that can be secured is secured. Everything that can't be secured is taken to shore. We're moving fast now, driven by cold and wind and the approaching darkness. We walk off the ice. There's a ritual to it, an unspoken relief when your feet hit solid ground. The ice held today. It held all of us and all our work. Tomorrow, it will hold us again. But tonight, we're grateful to be off it. Billy Thatcher looks like he's been through a war. His face is red and white in patches, frostbite spots that will hurt like hell when he warms up. He's shivering uncontrollably. Tom Bennett puts a hand on his shoulder. "You made it, kid. First day is the hardest." Billy nods but doesn't speak. He's probably afraid his voice will shake. I remember that feeling. Charlie is paying out. He has a small metal cash box, and he's handing each man his day's wages. When my turn comes, it counts out $1.50 into my hand. $1.50 for 10 hours of brutal labor. It's not much, but it's more than nothing. I fold the bills carefully and put them in my inside coat pocket where they won't get wet or lost. 22 tons today, boys, Charlie says. Good work. See you tomorrow at the same time. Tomorrow, the word sits heavy. Tomorrow, I'll do this all over again. And the day after that. And the day after that. For weeks, maybe months, until the ice harvest is complete or the ice gets too thin to work safely. This is my winter. This is how I survive. I start walking home. The 1.5 miles that took me 45 minutes this morning might take me an hour now. I'm exhausted. Every muscle hurts. My feet are numb in my boots. My hands alternate between numb and burning as feeling starts to return. The wind is still strong, pushing against me, but I walk. Each step is an effort now. This morning, my legs were fresh, ready for work. Now they're rubber, threatening to give out. I concentrate on the basic mechanics. Lift foot, push forward, place foot, transfer weight, repeat. Left, right, a rhythm that's kept humans moving since we first walked upright. I follow my own footprints from this morning, depressions in the snow that marked my outward journey, returning in my own tracks. There's something metaphorical about that, but I'm too tired to work out what. The evening tracks look different from the morning ones. This morning, I walked with purpose and some energy. These evening tracks show shuffle marks, irregular spacing, the occasional stumble. Someone tracking me would know immediately. This is a tired man heading home. Not dangerous, not running, just exhausted. Just trying to get there. The woods are getting darker fast. In January, dusk doesn't last long. The sun drops below the horizon and night comes quickly. I should have brought my lantern, but I thought we'd finish earlier. Now I'm racing against darkness, trying to get home before I can't see the path. I know these woods, but in full dark it's easy to wander off the trail, easy to get turned around. People have frozen to death within a mile of their own homes, lost in the dark and cold. My mind starts playing tricks the way it does when you're exhausted and cold. I think I see movement in the trees, probably just branches swaying, but it makes my heart race. I think I hear something behind me, probably just my own footfalls echoing. But I look back anyway. Nothing there, just trees and snow and dusk. But the fear is real. Fear of the dark, fear of the cold, fear of being alone and vulnerable. Primal fears that no amount of civilization erases. I focus on memories to distract from the discomfort and fear. I think about summer. Seems impossible now, but it will come. In summer, I'll work the farm. Different brutal work, but at least it's warm. I'll plant and tend and harvest. The children will help. Sarah is old enough to be genuinely useful now. James tries hard, but gets distracted. Emma just wants to be wherever I am, following me around the field. Like a little shadow. Summer feels like a different life, lived by a different person. That Walt Hutchins who works in the sun, who gets hot instead of cold, who can feel his fingers and toes. He seems fictional right now, but I know he exists because I've been him before and I'll be him again. I just have to survive the winter. Just have to get through these months of ice and cold. Just have to make it to spring. My breath comes harder now. I'm climbing the slight rise before the final descent to the farm. My legs protest each step. My lungs burn from cold air, but I can smell wood smoke now. Someone nearby has a fire burning. Maybe it's our chimney. Maybe it's Martha cooking dinner. The smell of smoke in winter means warmth, means home, means survival. It's a good smell. I can see the house now. Lamplight in the kitchen window, smoke from the chimney. I focus on that light, using it as a beacon. Just get to that light. Just make it to the door. Everything else, the pain, the cold, the exhaustion, is secondary to reaching that light. I think about how sailors must feel seeing a lighthouse after a storm. That's what the kitchen lamp is for me. A lighthouse, guiding me home. I think about Martha inside, probably starting to worry. I'm later than usual because of the wind that sent us home early, but made the walk longer. She'll be watching for me, relieved when she sees me coming. 18 years of marriage, and every day I work dangerous jobs, she worries. Every day I come home safe, she's relieved. You'd think it would get routine, but it doesn't. The danger is real, so the worry is real, so the relief is real every time. The final stretch across the farmyard is somehow the hardest. You'd think being close would make it easier, but knowing rest is near makes the pain feel worse. My body is ready to stop, ready to collapse, but I keep moving. Just to the door, just to the step, just to the handle, just inside, breaking the final distance into small goals, because the whole distance seems impossible now. I reach for the door handle and my hand barely closes on it. The mitten is frozen stiff. My fingers barely move, but I manage it. I turn the handle, I push the door open, and warmth rushes out to meet me like a physical embrace. The change from brutal cold to relative warmth is almost painful. My face, frozen leather all day, begins to thaw. My eyes water. My nose runs. The warmth hurts, but it's the good kind of hurt. The hurt of recovery. Martha turns from the stove and sees me. "Walt," she says, and I see the relief in her eyes. The children look up. Sarah from her schoolwork at the table, James from playing with blocks on the floor, Emma from helping her mother. "Papa!" Emma runs to me, but Martha catches her. "Give Papa a minute to warm up, sweetheart." Emma nods, understanding beyond her years. These children know that Papa comes home cold and hurt. They've learned to wait. "How was it?" Martha asks, though she can see the answer in my face. "Cold, hard, but we got the work done." "This is our ritual," she asks. I answer. We both acknowledge the reality without dwelling on it. $1.50, she asks. I nod and pull the bills from my pocket, handing them to her. She takes them with care, adding them to our survival fund. Every dollar means another day of security, another day closer to making it through the winter. The process of removing frozen clothing takes time. The coat doesn't want to come off. It's frozen in the shapes it held all day. The mittens are solid. My boots require Martha's help because my fingers won't work the laces. She kneels and works them loose while I lean against the table, too tired to care about the indignity of needing help with my boots. Boots are getting bad, Martha observes, looking at the worn leather, the failing stitches, the separation at the sole. I know, I say. They'll need to make it through the season. We can't afford new ones now. She nods. Can't afford new boots means my feet will get wetter, colder, more damaged. But that's the calculation. Money for boots means less money for food. Food wins, always. My feet will just have to endure. I sit by the stove and begin the painful process of warming my feet. They're white and wrinkled, the socks soaked through with sweat and then frozen. Martha brings me dry socks, warm from hanging near the stove. I try to put them on, but my hands won't cooperate, so she does it for me, gentle with my damaged feet. The warm socks feel like heaven. Small mercies. You learn to appreciate them. The pain as feeling returns is significant. Pins and needles that graduate to sharp stabbing as blood flow increases. I grit my teeth and endure it. This is good pain. The pain of recovery, of healing, of returning to life. The alternative would be no pain, because there's no feeling left, and that would be frostbite has won. So I welcome the pain. I breathe through it. I let it wash over me, and gradually it fades to mere aching. The woods are quiet except for the wind. No birds this time of year. No animals that I can see. Just cold and dark and trees. My breath creates clouds that trail behind me. I think about nothing and everything. About the $1.50 in my pocket. About Martha's face when I walk in. About dinner. About sleeping. About waking up tomorrow and doing it all again. Those of you who've done hard physical labor will understand. The walk home after a brutal day is its own kind of meditation. Your body is moving on autopilot. Your mind drifts. You're not quite present, not quite absent. You're just moving through space, heading toward rest. I see the lights of home through the trees. Martha has lit the lamps. There's smoke from the chimney. I can almost feel the warmth from here, though I know that's impossible. But the idea of warmth is almost as good as warmth itself when you're this cold. I open the door and the warmth hits me. It actually hurts, the transition from extreme cold to relative warmth. The kitchen is bright and warm and smells like food. Martha turns from the stove. "Walt," she says, and there's relief in her voice. Every day I come home safe is a good day. Every day I don't fall through the ice is a victory. "How was it?" she asks, though she knows. She can see it in my face, in the way I move. "Cold," I say. 22 tons, $1.50. She nods. "That's good money. That's what keeps us going." I start removing my outer layers. The coat is stiff with ice. The mittens are frozen solid. My fingers don't want to work to unlace my boots. Martha helps me with my boots. My fingers are useless, still numb. She works the laces loose and pulls the boots off. My feet are white and wrinkled, the socks soaked through with sweat despite the cold. "Sit by the stove," she says. I do. The heat starts working on my hands and feet, and the pain begins. The pins and needles of warming flesh. I grit my teeth and endure it. The children come into the kitchen. Sarah is 8, James is 6, and little Emma is 3. They know not to climb on me right when I get home. They've learned that Papa needs a few minutes to stop being frozen. But they hover nearby, and their presence is warming in a way the stove can't match. "Did you cut a lot of ice today, Papa?" James asks. "We did," I tell him. "Enough ice to keep every icebox in Portland cold all summer. Even Mr. Henderson's store," Emma asks. She's fascinated by the general store in town, with its big icebox. "Even Henderson's," I confirm. The children seem satisfied with this. Their father did important work today. Their father provides. Dinner is bean soup, bread, and milk. It's simple, but it's hot. and there's enough of it. I eat slowly, letting the warmth work through me from the inside. Martha tells me about her day. Emma had a cold, but seems better. Sarah helped with the laundry. James split kindling for the stove. Normal day. Normal life. The kind of life my work on the ice makes possible. After dinner, I sit by the stove while Martha cleans up and the children play quietly. My body is beginning to relax, though everything still hurts. My hands are painful as circulation fully returns. My feet ache. My back is a solid mass of dull pain. Tomorrow, it will all hurt worse. That's how this works. Tomorrow morning, I'll be stiffer than I am now, but I'll go back tomorrow, because that's what you do. The ice needs to be cut. The work needs to be done. The money needs to be earned. In Maine, in 1925, if you're not wealthy, you work. You work brutal jobs in brutal conditions for modest pay. You do it because your family needs food and heat and a roof. You do it because there's no alternative that's any better. Martha takes the $1.50 and adds it to the small metal box where we keep our money. Every day's pay goes in there. At the end of the harvest season, we'll have enough to get through until spring planting, enough to buy seed, enough to fix whatever breaks on the farm, enough to survive. That's what we're working for. Survival, and maybe a little bit more, if we're lucky. By 8 o'clock, the children are in bed. Martha banks the stove so it will hold heat through the night. We'll need to rebuild the fire in the morning, but the coals will stay alive until then. I stand up slowly, my body protesting. Coming to bed? Martha asks. I nod. The idea of lying down sounds like heaven. We climb into bed. The quilt's heavy and cold until our body heat warms the space beneath them. The bedroom is freezing, breath visible in the lamplight before Martha blows it out. Darkness, cold, but also rest. Finally, rest. My body sinks into the mattress, every muscle letting go. I lie there in the dark, Martha's warmth beside me. I think about the ice field, about tomorrow, about the 100 tomorrows after that, about Billy Thatcher nearly going in, about the $1.50 in the box downstairs, about how cold 14 inches of ice is when you work on it for 10 hours, about how Jake the horse never complains, about whether my boots will last another season. This is my life. Ice harvester in winter, farmer in summer, husband, father, man who works brutal jobs to survive. I'm not special. There are thousands like me all over Maine, all over New England, all over America. Men who work with their backs and their hands. Men whose bodies wear out early. Men who do what must be done. Tomorrow, I'll wake at 4:30. I'll eat oatmeal and coffee. I'll wrap my legs in wool. I'll walk to the lake. I'll cut ice. I'll move blocks. I'll earn my $1.50. I'll come home. I'll do it all again, and again, and again, until the harvest is done, or the ice gets too thin, until spring comes and I can go back to farming, until next winter when I'll do it all over again. But tonight, I don't think about all that. Tonight, I just sleep. Deep, exhausted, dreamless sleep. The sleep of a man who has worked his body to its limits. the sleep of survival, the sleep that will rebuild me just enough to do it all again tomorrow. And tomorrow will come the way it always does. 4:30 in the morning, cold, dark, ice. This is my life. This is how I survive. If tonight's glimpse into ice harvesting brought back memories, whether your own or stories about hard winter work, about ice trucks, about making do with what you had, I'd be honored if you shared them below. Your generation knows about work in ways that are being forgotten. Now rest well, and I'll see you in the next one.